Welcome and good morning. It's Thursday, August 2nd. This is episode 436 of the 359 podcast. And today's episode is being sponsored by USB Technology. The USB Implementers Forum reminds consumers that USB IF logos are displayed on certified USB products. So the next time you're shopping for a reliable USB charger, cable, or device, look for the logos. Get the whole story at enablingus.org. And now here are your hosts. We got the entire dream team: Ben Fox, Ruben, Roger Chang, and Alfred Ing.
Hi.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to start the podcast with a positive message for our viewers.
All right.
All right.
Yeah,
I don't know why you guys are always so cynical all the time, but I'm trying to come from a place of happiness.
We're jaded journalists. That's
right.
what we're supposed to be.
You were saying right before we were getting started that Apple is on the cusp.
Apple's on the verge of hitting $1 trillion in market valuation. It's a little bit less than $1 away. Its stock price is. It needs to hit $207.05. It's a magic number. We'll keep you updated as this goes on. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about the Microsoft Surface Go. Dan Ackerman's got a review of that. We'll break it down for you. We'll talk a little bit about T-Mobile and why it doesn't think it needs to raise the prices for its unlimited data plans. And lastly, a surprise as to which had the most hottest selling console in June, although Alfred doesn't think it's much of a surprise. But as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Brian will pick out the best, and we'll get to them in 3 minutes and 59 seconds.
Hang on, everybody. We'll see you back in the chat shortly. And here we go for the recording in 3, 2...
Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Alfred Ing.
CNET is out with its review of the Surface Go, and while it's a decent casual computing device, our own Dan Ackerman says that this supposedly affordable 2-in-1 isn't actually that cheap. It does start at $399, which on the surface, is decent. Is a decent price, but then if you tack on the keyboard cover, which costs $129, stylus, which is $100, and more RAM, which is another $150, then all of a sudden you've got a pretty pricey device, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
plus
nice,
a mouse.
Nice try, Microsoft, but you're not tricking me on this one. I think when they first announced it, I was like, oh, that's a pretty good price. I'll probably get it. And then I saw our review of it where it was like, oh, if you actually want it to be the thing it says it is, that's an extra like $300. So
yeah, it's actually more than $300. It's like $300.
Which means that like maybe at that point you're in the market for a Surface Pro, which is obviously more expensive. The thing that Dan mentions though is that the Surface Go is not a particularly new concept from Microsoft.
Right.
There was the Surface 3 from 2015.
Yep.
And that was also 10-inch. So maybe it's better or different. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I don't. Problem is, I don't know what this competes against. Is it an iPad Pro competitor? Is it an iPad competitor?
yeah, I think it's more
More
so
like
an
iPad.
iPad competitor.
If that's the case, like I'd rather just get the iPad.
Okay, that's you. You do you, Roger.
All right, let's talk about T-Mobile. It posted blowout numbers yesterday, particularly with phone subscriber growth, once again leading the industry in that metric. But more importantly, I got a chance to talk with the CFO, Braxton Carter, who told me that they weren't expecting to raise prices for the unlimited data plans anytime soon. Now, that's important because we've seen over the last few weeks, AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint all either introduce new plans or new tiers of plans that have been more expensive. So for a while now, this has been like sort of a golden age for bargain seekers in the wireless world, but it seemed like this was going to change. But at least T-Mobile's kind of holding steady and saying they're not raising prices.
Right, and they're kind of they're the ones that changed everything up. They want to keep getting in new customers, but are they making a lot of money too? Like they've done well with getting customers, but is it showing on their bottom line?
Yeah, their profits were up year over year. In particular, service revenue, which is a pretty key metric there, that was also up. They're basically growing by adding new customers, and that's basically what the CFO said, was that they didn't want to sacrifice any kind of long-term gains for sort of the short-term bump of like getting more money out of customers in the near term.
Can you tell us a bit about why they would want to merge with Sprint?
Ultimately, it's about spectrum and sort of the assets that Sprint has that they can use to expand their 5G network. They talked a lot about 5G yesterday, and the combination of Sprint's assets with T-Mobile's assets would give them a deeper, broader network.
So wait, what's the catch though? Why aren't they increasing their prices? I don't think it's because they're very nice.
No, it's not about nice. It's about customer growth. They think that if they keep their prices lower, they can keep customer growth going, which has been true. They've led the industry in customer growth for 18 consecutive quarters. So it's been working.
They're still number 3 though, right?
They're still number 3. They're
Is
in terms of the base, they're still pretty far off from Verizon and AT&T. So they think there's a lot of runway to grow.
Nice.
All right. Lastly, pop quiz. Can you tell me which was the best-selling console in June?
I mean, I'll just
I
walk
already
right
know
into
it,
this
so
one.
I don't.
I'll walk
then-
into it.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
just-
just-
Nintendo
just-
Switch. Nintendo Switch. Let's
You're
try that
wrong.
one.
You're totally wrong.
Shocking.
Surprise.
I don't
It's-
believe it.
It's the NES Classic, which was brought back at the end of the month. And that's what I think is most impressive to me is it was the top-selling console despite coming out on June 29th. Basically, 3 days left in the month. Outsold all the other ones. Obviously, from a sales perspective, a revenue perspective, Sony's PS4 actually was the top-selling console.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the most sense that they sold a ton of units considering that it was only $40. And the last time it was available for
There you go.
sale, it was like everybody was scrambling to get it because they thought they wouldn't be able to get it again.
Although I have to say, my buddy bought one. We turned it on, and all of a sudden I realized I didn't really like any of the games.
Yeah, it was mostly
So
hype.
sad.
Yeah.
Anyways, for more of these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Alfred Ng.
Thanks for listening.
And thank you for joining us for the recording of the audio podcast. And to drive fast, I know my camera sucks. It's the only one that'll fit in here. Go ahead and submit your questions and comments now so we can keep this conversation going from the NES Classic to why the hell the
Well, I will say, like I was super
NES Classic, and furthermore, the NES Classic.
excited to like turn it on and like play the Contra game. Realize it wasn't the Contra I remembered. It's like
Did you play Super Contra instead?
I think it was Super Contra. Yeah,
Super
it was-
Contra would not run on NES.
Well, not.
Well, yeah, I think that's why he was like, "This isn't the Contra I played."
This isn't the Contra I played. It's not the Nintendo version.
Best part of that game
I think it was like
is
the
how they
Famicom
jump.
version.
You remember how they jump?
I
They do
hated that.
3 flips in the air while they're jumping.
I
They're
always-
extremely
did you
acrobatic.
Did you actually count the flips?
It was a lot of flips. No,
There
I
was-
didn't count
it
the
was a
flips.
ridiculous amount of
Yeah,
flips.
It was like just jump.
Have you seen those guys? They're pretty jacked.
That's
right?
how real
Like,
Contras jump, dude.
and like, yeah, having the machine gun doesn't slow you down at all, right?
no, you
no,
can
no.
still
You
flip
still
a whole lot.
And an infinite amount of bullets.
Yes,
That's right. That's right.
Anyways, that's when we loaded that game up and started playing. We're like, wait, there's something. Like one of my friends swore that this was the game, and the rest of us were like, no, this seems all wrong.
This sucks.
It's not great. So yeah, I was disappointed. After that, we just switched. And between that and like the 3-foot long cable, I was just sort of like, I'm done with this.
No,
I'm going
that
back
was-
to my SNES Classic.
Yeah.
And did you play Super Contra on that?
Yes.
Yeah, as much. Just play Metal
Well, it's
Slug
not
though.
it's not Super Contra. So I don't know what the name of the game is on the NES Classic. Is it like Contra?
NES or SNES?
NES Classic.
Oh,
What that Contra
isn't that
game
just
was.
Contra?
No, that's the thing. It's not like it's not the Nintendo Contra that
Oh.
we played growing up. It was like the Japanese version.
Mario.
Yeah, it's more Mario Contra.
Say it, Ben.
I'm not walking into this
hey,
one.
you said
Come
it
on.
right, dude. All right.
I refuse.
Just play Metal Slug.
Wait, how do you?
It's like much better.
Metal Slug's not on.
Yeah,
either
I
of
know,
those.
but like
So
it's a
thank
much
you.
better game.
Well, thank you.
Metal Slug is very
I can't
fun.
contribute to this conversation because I have an NES Classic, but I refuse to open it.
Why?
are
Do
you
think
reselling
think
it?
it's gonna be like
I'm gonna
worth
keep
something?
it in my attic for like 25
Oh
years.
my
You're
God.
a fool because they're gonna come out with the NES Classic,
Right, and completely like destroy the value of my NES
Yeah.
Classic.
You can't contribute to this conversation because you have a speech impediment.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Wow.
Wow.
You are punching
Hey,
today,
people
bro.
with speech
Woo.
impediments can still contribute to contribution.
Not with
contribute
Mario.
Well done.
Yes.
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 It's Thursday, folks.
There we go. We're already off the rails.
This is Thursday. The 359's Friday.
And by the way, in terms of the Apple update, we're about 30 cents away. It's $206.66
Why
right
do-
now. Again, the
So-
magic number is 207.
Tell people
Fine.
why this matters. Why is that interesting?
Yeah, I don't care about that, but I mean, you.
I don't care if you don't care.
Yeah, I know, but why do people care about it?
It's a big number. $1 trillion.
Yes.
It's a huge number. It's a big milestone. There's only been one company that's ever briefly touched it, and it was a Chinese company. This is the first tech company to do it. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not Google, Apple, or Amazon were going to be the first to hit this milestone. It's a big milestone.
But like, I guess I just don't celebrate when other people get really rich. It's just like, how does that affect me?
Not always
it's
about
also-
you, man.
How does it affect
millennial.
How does it affect our viewers and our listeners that Apple has
to
a
some
lot of
There
extent.
money now,
are a lot of our viewers who are fans of Apple or interested in what happens
or
in Apple.
possibly invested in them?
Or
That might,
possibly invested, yes.
Right. So also to some extent, it's really like pretty incredible and telling to see them hit $1 trillion in market valuation, considering that the company was at death's doorstep, you know, a couple decades ago.
I wasn't alive at that point.
Yeah,
I was at birth's doorstep.
It's to continue to consider the fact that this is a company that was getting absolutely clobbered in the market, could not get a foothold against Microsoft, and is now like very, very close to reaching $1 trillion in
this-
valuation.
I guess, like-
speaks to how powerful, like the enormous strength of Apple at this point.
Would this be like the equivalent of like in like 30, 40 years from now, like Snapchat is like about to hit like $1 trillion? Is that like?
I mean, I would put it another way. It's like it's when an athlete sets a record in the Olympics, right? Like,
Yes.
You're not benefiting from that record, but it's still interesting to see, right? Like when Michael Phelps hits 12
I guess
gold
that, yeah,
medals.
I also did not care about that, but
You're just apathetic in general.
this is true.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a thing that people will talk about years from now. Oh, Apple was the first tech company to reach $1 trillion.
and the first U.S. company.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't see how it affects me.
Such a millennial. It's always about me.
It's a good point, though. I mean, like, it's not like we're a business podcast. It's I appreciate you being a wet blanket all the time.
All the time.
I want my own podcast where it's just called Everything Sucks, and I just bring up
Wait,
the
wasn't that a Netflix show?
It
It's
is.
a Netflix show.
Well,
but-
it canceled though. So
I don't. Yeah, so I can
With
take it.
Clearly-
good reason.
Yeah.
The first episode is the Netflix show. The show where I just go on and I'm not enthusiastic
And
about
you're just
anything.
like, this all sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Here are the top
destined
headlines
for
of the
greatness.
day. None of it matters. Just go out and do something fun.
Why are you watching this?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Before I get any sadder, let's get to questions.
Yes. Brian.
Okay, question time. Let's talk a bunch about the tablet. Let's talk about that Surface Go, whatever the hell it's called.
Surface Go.
Yeah,
You
you
literally
got
said
it
it.
right. You got it.
See, I'm not the tech expert here. I'm just the button pusher. Siddharth says, how does it compare with the Samsung Tab 4?
Ooh. For one, the Tab 4 is Android, so it's a little bit more limited. This is obviously Windows. It's a bit more full-fledged. It is a PC. They call it a 2-in-1. You can't really confuse the Samsung with this one because the Tab is still an Android-based one.
Right. At the same time, as Dan mentions in his story, because it's got a Pentium chip, it's not as powerful as you would get with like a regular Windows laptop or even the Surface Pro. So that's definitely something that you should consider if you are actually on the market for something like this.
Next up, from Timothy Dew, does it have a SIM card slot?
Oh, man. Very specific
I
questions.
know.
We needed to get Dan in today, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
he
we
is-
working from home.
Why don't we
this
just
is
Skype
part of
him
the
in?
issue. We were trying to get Dan in. He was working from home, so that's why we're a little flat-footed when it comes to the specific answers to
To like the tech specs, but
tech specs. Yeah,
I don't think it does have a SIM card slot though, because it doesn't have the Qualcomm chip to do that kind of like
it doesn't
LTE.
have a
Yeah.
radio, right?
Yeah.
The cellular radio. Okay, so
It shouldn't.
no SIM card slot.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it anywhere in our review. Let's take one from Marius Lund. Well, actually, let's combine a bunch of them together. From Marius Lund to Drew Nielsen, if they had sold this with a keyboard, it would have been a good product. The fact that they are starting to partition off all the essential core things to make a computer is a little disheartening. But Drew Nielsen follows it up saying, but will casual tablet users need a keyboard and a stylus? Keyword being casual.
But if you're a casual tablet user, you would just get a tablet. Like you wouldn't get a Surface at all.
I guess
at that price,
I mean,
maybe
I
you
guess
would.
the argument there, like if you were Microsoft, the counter argument was like, yeah, you can get this. It's a tablet, but also it can do more productivity stuff if you want to put money into it. But it's just an affordable alternative to an iPad.
I don't know. I'm not buying it. They should have just kept the stylus and the pen with it. I mean, the keyboard with it. I think it's useless without those. But I mean, I also like if it were just that, I would just get like an Android tablet.
Right. Or like the Galaxy Tab S4.
Yeah,
Right.
which is an Android tablet.
or a
There you go.
Chromebook. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, if you really
yeah.
want to save money, a Chromebook is probably actually your best bet.
Yeah, it's like they went after the market that's like, oh, we were trying to reduce the prices here, but then it's like, oh, nope, we're just gonna like, if you actually wanted to use it as like a computer with a keyboard and the stylus, then that's like an extra like couple $100.
I will note the Galaxy Tab S4. All the names start to confuse me after a while. It's $650, so it's significantly more expensive, but it does come with a tablet built in, or a stylus. Their S Pro stylus, S Pen stylus included.
No keyboard.
No keyboard.
Well, that's a good segue into a question from Josh Boyda. Would you recommend the Surface Go over a higher tier Chromebook or Samsung Chromebook Plus?
Depends on the price.
You have a Chromebook, right?
Yeah, I would just recommend the Chromebook. Just get the Chromebook.
If you're worried about productivity, I think the Chromebook's probably your best
I
bet.
think the idea is that, you don't get a Chromebook when you want to do something that like Chrome OS or Android doesn't support in the sense, oh, I need to edit photos, I need to edit video,
Right.
I need to like code or something like that. But I use I have my like work computer where I like edit photos and videos on
Right.
and make bad
I would
memes.
also argue that if you've got the Surface Go and you're running something extensive like Photoshop, it probably isn't the best
Yeah,
experience.
that's the
'cause
other
Pentium
thing too.
chip's
It's
a little
not
bit
that
slower.
great for that.
You could
so-
do it, but it's not. It might be frustrating.
Yeah, so if you just need like web browsing stuff, I would recommend just getting a Chromebook. If you need like actual stuff outside of that, then just don't get the Surface Go either.
The Surface Pro or
Yeah.
something a little bit more sophisticated would probably be better suited for you.
The Real Phantom Zero asks, can you install desktop software on it?
On the Surface Go, yes.
The Surface Go, yeah,
Yes.
right. It just, like I said, it's probably not going to run super fast since
And
the chip's a little slow.
You would have to have it on Windows 10 and not Windows 10s, which is kind of
Right.
like the locked version of it, but it should still have like desktop apps that are approved for Windows 10 on it. But like you have to get it through the Windows Store, so you might
Yeah.
not be able to get Chrome.
Oh, true. Yeah, good point.
A follow-up from Michael Brown says, I think the new Samsung Tab should have run Chrome OS. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Oh.
I think most tablets should be running on Chrome OS. I think, like, obviously Google has this whole like identity crisis going on with like, all right, so this is Chrome OS and this is Android and
Right.
this is whatever. But they are making this push toward
They're
like
trying
having
to
Chrome OS on, like everything on mobile is Chrome OS.
They're trying to. I feel like there's definitely a concerted effort to get them to merge, but they're still
Yeah.
in two different places.
Because
right
it's
now.
really frustrating because on my Chromebook, it's like I have Chrome OS on it, but it's the version that like you can download Android apps on.
Right.
But if you open up the Android app, it only opens up in a small window as if it's like on a phone.
I would argue also like the Chromebooks in general are more considered like cheaper devices. I don't
Yes.
know if there are a lot of high. There's a
Yeah.
handful of high.
There's
end
high-end
ones,
Chromebooks,
but, like no
but
one
yeah.
buys them, right? Like the most popular ones are like the cheaper ones.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in Samsung's mind, like having an Android tablet would still be considered technically a high-end device. Kind of.
Yeah, but like Chrome OS is like much better as a browsing experience, I would argue, than like on Android. And for me, I can just speak from a level of like security wise, it's like
Right.
much more secure than Android is.
Right. Well, I think it's the counter argument there, though, is the breadth of apps,
Yeah.
the usefulness of Android versus Chrome
Yeah.
OS.
If anything, they should just do what Chromebooks do, where like they give you Chrome OS, but you can put Android apps on it.
So Chrome OS and Android are more likely to merge than Mac OS and iOS, correct?
Well, according to the folks at Apple, yes, because they had that big banner that said no.
No. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, they've done things to kind of
Get
take
them
baby
to
steps
work,
to get
work
closer
closer together.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Josh Boyda points out that technically removing the keyboard is in fact cutting costs. Good point there. Michael Brown wants to know, why can't you do photo editing on the Pixelbook?
I mean, you can, but it's like you
Yeah.
can't get like Photoshop on it. There are apps like that you can use
Right.
for it, but I'm most used to Photoshop. And there are just some features on it that like I really use a lot that aren't available on the photo editing apps that I use on my Chromebook.
Gotcha. From the Real Phantom Zero, they'd like us to try to compare the performance of the Surface Go to another device. What is the closest facsimile for comparison's sake?
NES Classic.
Ouch.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
That's tough,
It's a
right?
tough one. They do a lot of, I mean, like Dan tends to do a lot of benchmarking in the PC lab, so I feel like he'd probably be a better person
Weren't there
to
a
answer that.
handful of like Qualcomm Snapdragon powered laptops that were announced at the end of last year that were
Not
kinda like,
sure.
I feel like
Not
they're
sure.
announced every year.
True.
I mean, like it's still a Pentium chip, so
But,
that means
but
it's
these
not
were
like
these were ARM chips, ARM chip powered ones.
this is
This is still x86, right?
right. So it's
Yeah.
it's a Pentium chip. It's not like they put in an Intel mobile chip or
Right,
anything
right,
like
right.
that. So you're probably going to get like better power than like whatever the Core M lineup was a couple years ago. But I think like this might actually be a stepped up version of that. I'm
Right.
not 100% sure, but you're probably going to get more power than a mobile chip, but less than you would for like a higher level. Like it's not. It doesn't have
Like
an
a
i7
legit
in there.
PC with like a top of the line or even like a mainstream
Yeah,
Intel chip.
but
Yeah.
and to the extent that you would probably notice the difference. Like with a lot of these things, like when we talk about the difference between iPhone 1 year versus the next year, they say like this is so much faster. It's like generally speaking, I don't really notice.
Yeah.
With this type of situation, if you're like stepping down from a Surface Pro to a Surface Go, you probably will notice like a difference in performance.
All right. Yeah. There you go. I mean, I guess the comparison, although it's not really accurate, is probably to an iPad, right? Like an iPad Pro, like
Yeah.
an iPad, not an iPad Pro.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like,
I would go there.
because it's about in terms of how you use it, right? Because this is really meant more for casual browsing. I mean, you're not doing anything too intensive, and that's kind of what you're doing on your iPad too.
Before we switch gears into another topic, from Dzeng, do previous versions of the keyboard cover work with the new Surface Go or Surface Pro?
Ooh, I have no idea.
I don't
It doesn't- would it-
believe
would it
so.
fit?
It needs to be the right size.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're talking about like for a Surface 3
But
potentially.
sorry, we can't answer any of
That'd
these
be
questions.
silly if it
though.
didn't work, though. I mean, like fit, outside of the argument here. Like it's pretty much just a Bluetooth keyboard, right?
Yeah, we're just saying like if it would actually like
It needs to
if it
click
would,
in.
It would click in,
That's so
or
silly.
even if it doesn't, even if it does click in, like if it's the right size, like if it would look weird being larger, like the surface area. I don't know.
We're gonna take all your tech spec questions
Well,
and
well,
email them to Dan.
Exactly. We'll get Dan to answer all your questions and
get really
hopefully
mad at him
respond to it.
for working from home one day. Horrible.
the one day that we need him.
From Congolux, is the new Tab S4 IP68, and does it have Gorilla Glass?
Oh God.
Such a bad.
Wow. This was a
Brian,
this-
you're killing us.
Yeah.
Don't blame me. Blame the chat. They're stumping you this
They
time.
got good questions.
You guys have
but
totally stumped us. I don't know if it's IP68. I would suspect Gorilla Glass is a yes. That seems to be. I don't know which version of Gorilla Glass, but I don't know. Have they done water resistance on their tablets?
I don't know. I don't know that much
We're
about the
terrible.
Samsung tablets. So.
Sorry, especially the tablet in particular. I know that it just launched, but we
I know, but I'm not gonna say it
yeah.
Oh,
okay.
nice.
because you guys ignored me earlier today.
Horrible.
From Mike Shaw, is Apple now big enough to be its own country?
Oh, it has been for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there are only like 15 countries with the same GDP as its market cap. So
It's pretty staggering.
yeah, it can be its own country. It could break out of California.
Nice.
I mean, California tried to break itself up.
That's
Apple could
why-
just create their own island.
That's why the headquarters is shaped like a spaceship.
So that we're
it
gonna
can-
fly
it
away.
The
can
moment
fly
they
away.
actually reach $1 trillion, it sets off into
It actually flies
Right.
up. Yeah.
You can go and they like make their own island.
I would
somewhere.
actually care about that if that
Oh,
did
really?
happen.
That would
but
affect your
how
life?
does that affect you?
Because there's a new place that I could possibly visit and
Oh,
take
no,
photos of.
you
We're gonna
you
see
wouldn't be
right now.
welcome, dude. You're too cheap. You would not be welcome.
We got time for a couple more. What is the maximum recommended TV size for the SNES Classic? I would say not that big, right? Since the thing's only putting out 720.
You know what? With my buddies, we played it on a projector that went against the wall. It was fine. I
So
mean,
you're
yeah.
already kind of like forgiving some of the fidelity because
Exactly.
it's a projector.
The
I think
graphics are lousy.
The
to
graphics
begin
are the
with.
graphics. Yeah, they are what they are. Like it's yeah, it's a
I mean,
charm
you're
of
not
playing
gonna
those
get
games.
any kind of input lag because you're doing it on through HDMI as opposed to VGA cables. But I when you played it, was it ratioed to be a square or was it
Yeah, it was square.
So
Yeah.
you don't really need that large of a TV for it.
No, you don't. But I think for folks who have big TVs now, it's
Yeah, it's not like
it's
you're
not
gonna-
a concern. Like I wouldn't be worried.
You're
that
not
it
going
would
to
look
specifically
terrible.
buy a small TV for it, but if you want to play without the ratio, without those black bars on the side, then try to find a square TV, which I don't even know if they make those anymore.
Two TVs.
No, not that's CTRs, but I'm saying just
Oh.
a TV that's it could be a flat screen, but just in the shape of a square. You can't even do it on a CTR because it's an HDMI cable.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is why you're not really gonna get input lag, but yeah, I don't know. Like something with a square ratio probably makes the most sense.
Alfred, you had a little input lag there for a second.
Good. Because the TV size here is wrong.
For the record, you have Inspired Drive Fast, who says their goal is to become apathetic, but they don't want to put any effort into reaching that goal.
Nice.
the way to do it.
Nice.
A better writer than any of us. Okay, so on the way out the door right now, what do we think is the next classic console coming up? Timothy Dew thinks maybe the PlayStation Classic. That's a good thought.
I would put my money on the N64.
I think that's a
Oh
no-brainer.
yeah, they would do the N64
Although
before the
you know,
GameCube.
at this point in the year, like they would have already announced it. So I'm wondering if it's happening this year, or maybe they'll wait till next year. I mean, they're bringing back the NES Classic, and they brought back the SNES Classic for a little while. Maybe they'll wait a year.
I hope these are
Drag
money
it out.
makers for these guys because obviously I
know.
would
They
like to see
definitely are.
mini versions of all of these, and they're like to me they're a lot of
beyond
fun.
money make, and I believe they're probably extremely profitable. Like how expensive can that be to make?
You know what
right?
they're gonna do? They're gonna make the Wii. They're gonna jump ahead of everything and just do the Wii U Classic because they didn't
Ooh.
sell at all. And it's like
Ouch.
we have all these leftover Wii U.
Just
They're
relabel them.
$5. $5.
Wii U Classic, everybody.
Yeah. I would say the N64 is next. I don't know when it's gonna come. I'm surprised it hasn't been announced already.
But who else is going to jump on this train? We've seen
There have been
Sega
quite
to
a
an
few.
extent.
Sega's
There's
done it a
a
lot.
there's
Well,
Genesis,
Sega
even
hasn't
though
done it
technically
itself,
not
though.
Sega,
Sega-
Yeah,
right?
it's
It's
like
at
third-party
games.
stuff.
Yes,
but
Sega's got that third party one, and it's not that great.
at
We
games.
tried
I have
it.
one.
Well, who?
It's called At Games. They function fine. The emulator can get a little wonky, and the sound chip is kind of lousy.
I think that's the issue. Atari and Sega have done that, and I don't know. The experience isn't as slick.
But yeah, seeing like a PlayStation Classic, I don't expect it to happen. I think Nintendo is going to keep the train running, but I don't know. Maybe.
An Xbox Classic, original size. This is
What
giant.
would, like,
Giant thing.
okay,
Here you go.
What would the PlayStation Classic? Yeah. The Xbox would include like a giant brick, which would be like
remember the
same-
original
Problem-
controller?
The
The
problem
original
with
controller
like,
yeah.
was like this big. like,
Yeah.
the problem with like classics for like these other like consoles is that like
They're
they're
not
not
old enough.
well that and like they're not the ones that are making these games. Like Nintendo, like they
That's
have
true.
the rights to all of them.
Yeah.
And even though like Contra, they don't have the rights to it, but like they're able to negotiate that. Like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
Konami game.
Right.
But like for PlayStation, like think of all the classic PlayStation games that are out there. None of them are like really made by Sony.
That's true. Like
That's a
Gran
good point.
Turismo.
That's exactly what Ikixon is saying in the chat, that there would be major licensing problems
Yeah.
with a lot
Yeah.
of these.
Well,
Well-
Xbox has got really just got Halo.
Which is
If
why
there's money
like,
to be made, they'll make it work.
and even with Halo, that's Bungie. Like if they came out with an N64,
No, I think
but they split off from
but they
Microsoft
still-
now.
But they own the rights to Halo.
Yeah, but my point is like think about like the N64 Classic. Like
Right.
a lot of the good games for there like are from Rare, which
Yeah,
like
GoldenEye,
they don't
yeah,
own
yeah,
anymore. So
yeah.
I don't know if they like still have the rights to Banjo Kazooie and like can put it back out again.
I don't think they have to
Yeah.
renegotiate. Yeah,
No,
for
but
sure.
Rare's the one in charge of putting out their own classics, which they have been doing in
Yep.
software bundles. But as far as like a hardware,
I'd
launch-
imagine they'd play ball though.
Yeah.
Like, but you're right in that Nintendo is in that unique position where a majority of their titles are first party,
Yeah.
as opposed to third party. So, I don't know. I don't think I'd buy an Xbox Classic for what it's worth. I think it would be like Forza and Halo are the first party games that are. Are there any that were?
Fable.
Oh, Fable. That's right. I don't know what else.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, that's not a great lineup. you just get those three games.
Like, did they have NBA jams?
No, those are all.
Vaguely
that's-
no.
remembering that
That's
one.
from
there's-
Activision.
Oh,
I think?
you're talking about only first party.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and also like, NBA Jam isn't on the Super NES or NES or Super NES.
It's on
Classic.
Super NES.
Oh,
No, it's not.
I did not know that.
And-
No,
NBA
classic,
Jam?
the classic.
Oh,
SNES
it's not on the Classic. Oh yeah.
because of that
Yeah,
issue,
licensing
right? It's
stuff,
licensing
yeah.
thing.
That's why they didn't have Chrono Trigger, which is the best game for the SNES Classic. I'll fight anyone in the comments. Only in the comments, though, not physically here.
Careful, everybody. He's heating up. Ricky B and Josh Boyda are pointing out we're overlooking Game Boys. I think with the success of the
Oh.
Switch and its portability option, that's a very viable option. Although I think we might see something more likely to a virtual console version of these for the Switch before we see a console version re-release, kind of maybe.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm off base on that
I mean,
one.
the other thing that Nintendo's trying to do with the new like subscription service that they're doing
Yep.
come like September or October or so is that every month you're getting like a free like classic game. I could imagine them
Is
putting
that like
some.
what Xbox Live does?
Yeah,
and
and PlayStation does the same thing too. Where I can imagine them doing the exact same thing with but like for Game Boy games there. But I still think they're gonna continue selling these like classic consoles, like even with like the classic games on like the Nintendo market.
Right.
If they brought back the Game Boy, would it be in color? Or
Yeah, that'd
like,
be easy
Game
enough
Boy
to do
Classic
after
and
they
then Game
did
Boy
the
Color
Game Boy Color.
Classic and then
But
Game Boy
wasn't
Advance
the
Classic.
Game Boy Color was just literally a colored version of the Game Boy, right?
Yeah.
No, but there
but
were
the one that
colored
I
games,
played,
too.
the one that I played was
Right.
basically like a calculator screen.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
talking
that's-
about.
I remember that
I
one.
only played Tetris on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Same here.
No,
I
there
think
was a
there was
Super
a
Mario
Zelda.
game.
No,
There was a
they had a
Mario
lot
game
of
that was
games
good.
for it. I only played Tetris on it. Like me
Got it.
play only Tetris.
Okay.
Got it,
Thank
got-
you.
thank you.
Incredible.
Caveman,
Oh, wait, Tarzan.
Caveman Alfred.
Me Tetris.
Is Pokemon considered a first party? I believe it is, even
Yes.
though it's
Yeah.
through Niantic, but Niantic belongs
Technically,
to
because
Nintendo.
it's
Whoa.
it's Pokemon. It's the Pokemon company. It's not
Yeah.
Niantic.
Yeah, Niantic is Pokemon
Niantic's
Go.
Pokemon Go.
My bad.
There
You're
is
right.
a Pokemon company that Nintendo owns part of a
Yes.
share in.
Oh, man, this
Super
is
complicated. Yeah, they don't actually own the full rights to it. They're like a shareholder in the company that deals with the cards and the games and everything.
Pokemon should have reached $1 trillion first. I would care about that.
It might have after Pokemon Go, but
Mm.
that was the whole deal
Pokemon is
with
better than
Nintendo.
Apple.
Nintendo stock. I remember Nintendo stock surged on Pokemon Go until like at one point, like one of the executives reminded people, like, actually,
We have
we
very
don't own
little
that. We don't
exposure.
own that company, and they went,
Yeah.
"Zoop." Oh, okay.
One thing to think about on the way out the door, Drive Fast says we should get 359 episode classics re-reviewing old tech. Couldn't you just see
Ooh.
us doing like an MST3K type thing
We
where
could do
we're
that.
watching our old episodes and reviewing how
Oh my
bad
god,
they were?
I
could
would,
do it
that would be
back
so
in-
miserable.
We could do it back in the old studio too. So we could do it in the podcast studio.
We could do that, or we would. Well, it would be us like in a studio with a screening room, and we'd watch the old episode, and we'd like.
We
throw
could have it
popcorn
on
at
this
I'm not
screen here.
rewiring that whole damn studio again. That'll be the fourth time.
Oh wow.
Why don't we just have
Put
it
the
playing
kibosh
on
on
like
that.
this
Oh, that's
screen
true. We
there?
got it playing
Yeah,
back
we have
here,
the
and then
screen
we
right
could
here.
just mock it.
Mm-hmm.
I would be miserable.
very
Here's
good
the
at
here's
it.
the part where Ben says Mario again, and we make fun of him.
We just have a supercut of that, or the
Yeah.
supercut of me fumbling the introduction.
I've been trying to avoid saying Mario this whole episode, but now
there
I just
you go.
don't
You
care
just said it
anymore.
twice.
Yeah, I know.
You
Well,
said
we're
Mario
on the,
earlier. You got it right earlier.
No, I didn't.
You
Did
just
I?
said- You said Mario.
No, I said
No,
Mario.
I only say it the right way, which is my way.
Get it out of your system, New Jersey.
He's Philly. It's Philly.
It's Philly.
He's Jersey
North
now.
Jersey.
Well, that's
It's
true.
Philly, South Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, that's it for us. We're out of time for the week. Thank you to USB for sponsoring the show again. And who's going to take us out today?
I guess I will. Podcast is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Feedburner, Google Play Music, and the Amazon Alexa. And of course, all of this video, podcast, everything is available on CNET.com. See y'all next week.
Later, folks. See you Monday.
Later.